Well, hello everyone. Welcome in. This is Andrew, the Archon Philosopher, talking philosophy to the philosopher in all of us. I want to begin by apologizing for some sound issues. I've removed some videos until I can redo them with a better mic. I hope this mic is better for the interim, and I will get working on this. I thought it was good coming out of my headphones, but it wasn't for everyone. So sorry about that, but please comment, like, subscribe, and let me know how things are going. Anyway, today's topic is consciousness and death, two very important issues, I think, for all sentient creatures. And it was told to me by a philosopher professor that I had that philosophers were death contemplators. So I suppose I've been contemplating death for a long time. It's nothing to be too afraid of. Everyone should be a little bit afraid, but everyone's done it before that's come before us, so don't let it get to you. Anyway, what we have, beginning with when we wake up into the world, we are thrown into the world, as Heidegger says. We begin with experience, and as a baby this happens, but in the moment we first wake up in the morning, we open our eyes, and there's a moment, an instant, perhaps, of pure experience, and then we immediately, almost immediately, turn it into language. And then we're talking about the experience of the ideas in our heads. And ultimately, we can also have an experience of the presence of the world. And this is an experience of being itself. This is the activation of the lived-in world. And what allows all of this experience is consciousness, which is an awareness and response to the world. And sentient creatures have this, plus we have language with which to speak and communicate about the world we live in. And part of the world that we live in is a world that we know we're going to die. So we live across a horizon of death. And each day we have to get the motivation to keep on going. This can be difficult at times, but again, don't let it get to you. It could be a very interesting journey. In fact, I've been looking up recently on this. And there's two groups that have very interesting things to say. One is the Orphics. And they say we can navigate death and come back in. And the Egyptians, who had a 3,000 long year civilization, were very dedicated to this. And they have the Great Book of the Dead and other affiliated books. And, they made mummies. They made mummies in order to give extra time. They thought that if the body was still intact, that you would have more time to navigate upwards what I call a tendril of consciousness from an individuated conscious creature back up to the law of physical nature consciousness. And this is a collective consciousness. And we can come back down in after death, or maybe even during lifetimes. We can navigate up and come back down in. You don't want to do this, and you don't want to have any sentient creature do it, whether it's a human sentient creature or non-human sentient creature. And so we have defenses against this, natural defenses, but we can scoot up this tendril, and then this is in the afterlife, the afterworld. We have a pathway, and it's quite difficult. And the Orphics have one way of dealing with it, and very similar to the Egyptians. And the Egyptians have this book called the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Coming Forth by Day. And in this great work, we see an analogy drawn between the path that people take after death and then coming back in as the trip that Ra makes, the sun god, the Archon, as it were, who controls the sun. We have darkness, and in this 12 hours of darkness, what we have is 12 gates that you have to win. That Ra has to win each and every time. And this is an analogy to the pathway of death after you die and want to come back in. This is a great book. The end dot is the person who dies, and they meet all sorts of people and entities trying to help them. It starts with Thoth, and this seems to be an Archon who's very favorable. And so these Archons as well exist in this space, as it were, between death and then coming back in. It's like an echo of your individuated consciousness, like a computer. You send a message on the Wi-Fi, your computer suddenly shuts off, but yet you have the ability to turn your computer back on, and the Wi-Fi signal will go around and then it will come back in. This is like an echo. Your body's dead, but the signal is still going, and it can still navigate a pathway, hopefully into like a newborn and not someone who's already existing. But if you do that, remember that the newborn has very simple programming up here, and it's going to be hard to get your full personality and memories, what people, I think, call the soul. You're not going to be able to get it all in, but you might be able to get some traces in, and then at some point in your life, you'll wake up and you say, I think I've been here before, and you have some idea about what to do and the mystery of the world, and have an easier time of navigating. So the Coming Forth by Day is a great book, and I'll be doing something more on it. Equally, we have the Mystical Hymns of Orpheus, and I'm just going to point to one of them here, which is Protagonist, who's also Phanes. And Phanes is the demiurge, from whom it says here, from whom the race of gods and mortals springs. So Phanes created the world, and seems to fly in the sky on waving pinions. I just wonder whether that's the black triangle. I'm sort of thinking it is. And anyway, we'll get back into this, but we have a number of texts that we can go back to see that consciousness is individuated in us, but it's also everywhere in the universe, like time or space or materiality or causality. It's a structure, and we can work within this structure while we're living, and then in this afterworld journey. And if you don't want to come back in, you're just washed, and then it just you're nowhere to be found anymore, except maybe in some books you wrote or something. So this is an overview of the journey of death that individuated conscious creatures will take, sentient creatures. We're aware of it. We can prepare for it. The Orphics recommend certain techniques, so do the Egyptians. And other people talk about this. After medical death experiences are now quite common. And from this we see that consciousness is not a cause and effect relationship of the brain, but rather one that's coincident. That it has to attach to something that's sufficiently complex in order to allow all of this, the language, the awareness of being aware, and so on. It needs to be complex. So we're looking at this, and I hope this was informative. We'll get back to this subject. It's a great subject. So until next time, remember, like, share, subscribe, and if there's any issues with the sound, let me know, and we'll see you next time, hopefully. Oh yes, and remember, the world is marvelous, the world is magnificent, the world is sometimes malevolent, but the world is never magic.